All right, everybody, what is going on? It is your guy. It is Tyler A. Gates, aka Tag Live 205, and I am here. I am live with you from Stamford, Connecticut. Yes, I am in the big CT. Big thanks to Millions for letting me stream this on their platform. And if you're watching on Instagram as well at Tyler A. Gates, I thank you guys so much. College football is back once again for another week. And what I want to get into is all of the big games. I have them all lined up for you. First, we're going to get into OU versus Alabama. Then we're going to get into Notre Dame and Pitt. Also, I want to get into Georgia Tech, who I grew up a fan of, and a special edition of Don't Be That Team. If you know what that means, you know what that means. So we're going to get started with this right now. Once again, before I get started, a huge thanks to Millions.co and Scott Whitaker for allowing me this platform to gain reps, but to gain insight from you guys as well, to help me, to help you, to help us. One, the first game that we're going to discuss, like I said, was Oklahoma and Alabama. Now, we understand Boomer Sooner. We understand Crimson Tide. We understand that they are both the color crimson, burgundy maroon, whatever you feel like calling it. At the end of the day, they are both a different shade of red. When we talk about Oklahoma and Alabama, most people get them mixed up because of their colors. Most people get them mixed up when they are younger because of not a sustained history, but Alabama and Oklahoma share so much in common if you look at it. And I'm not one to say that I feel as if Oklahoma and Alabama both should not be sharing the same record right now. We obviously know that Alabama is the better team. That's no question. Oklahoma, on the other hand, they have right now what is called a struggle bus. When you have a quarterback carousel, they're not known for developing quarterbacks. They're known for developing transfer quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, for example, Dylan Gabriel. We could put Sam Bradford's the only one that developed there. Baker Mayfield transferred as well from Texas Tech. So we look at what the trickle effect has been. Kyler Murray. We look at what the trickle effect has been. Jalen Hurts from Alabama. Can they stop Alabama the same way they did last year when Jalen Murray was at quarterback? How are they going to be able to stop the run? And the 9-1, 8-1 rather, Alabama Crimson Tide. And here are some keys for Oklahoma. What is their offense going to be without a fully healthy Mature? Right? John Mater, or John Mature, as people call him, quarterback for Oklahoma, has an electric game. I don't want to say that he's going to cause his wide receivers to struggle because he's going to get them the football. Sometimes he does throw a little bit of medicine balls. We understand that. But that's going to be a problem versus Alabama is wide receivers struggling to create separation. Nobody can create their own play outside of the playbook. They must make this game ugly. If it is not an ugly game, they're not remotely going to be close. It's just not going to happen. And the turnover effect, the disguised blitzes, and the chaos that they have to cause, it's not going to be there if they don't sustain it early. If they do not dominate early and get an early 3-and-out Alabama at least 2 times, this game is going to be over with before halftime. And they understand that. I'm pretty sure they do. So have a game plan for Todd Simpson. Have a game plan for Jan Miller. You must have a game plan for the rest of their offense, but specifically Jan Miller. You can stop the run. You pretty much stop Alabama. I don't see them throwing the ball to Isaiah Horton 15 times today, let alone 10. I just don't see that happen. Now, for Alabama's keys, I want to talk about a clean pocket. I fully understand that Alabama probably is going to run away with this game. And if they can run away with the game and blow them out, we're talking about a clean pocket, right? Receiver talent is a mismatch which favors the Crimson Tide. The run game also can wear OU down over 4 quarters, right? Alabama's run game, Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara for a slight time. was going to transfer there, right? We understand Alabama's running backs probably are the best running backs in college football history. Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, like I just said. Jam Miller probably will be in that conversation. Jahmyr Gibbs, we can't forget about him. You can't forget about Josh Jacobs. And having said that, a sustained run game for Alabama is going to be the best case scenario for them today. Don't throw the football against Oklahoma because it's bound to get picked off a couple times. I know we remember last year's game where they tried to throw slant routes and little pitch routes to Ryan Williams 3 and 4 times, which, in my opinion, cost them the game. And Ryan Williams is going to be a big factor in this game. Don't let this sophomore slump fool you. Ryan Williams, to me, is still the best player on Alabama's team. I mean, we're talking about a person that could go number 1 overall in his draft class, along with Jeremiah Smith. We can see wide receivers go 1-2 in 2027. Let's be completely transparent. Let's be completely transparent about that. And I honestly don't think when we're talking about playoff implications, we're not talking about just having had multiple bowl runs, multiple championship runs. The best case scenario for Oklahoma to beat Alabama is to make this game ugly. Speaking of making games ugly, I want to get into the second game, which is Notre Dame and Pitt. Now, CJ Carr needs to have a good game in order to even be considered a Heisman candidate. I don't think he should be a Heisman candidate. You have some people that think he should be a Heisman candidate. I don't think he should be a Heisman candidate, and I'm going to tell you why. What has Notre Dame done this year to make anybody think that they are a national championship team? They have 2 losses. Okay, that's fine. If they lose against Pitt today, this is their last chance. If they lose against Pitt today, it's pretty much over with. It is pretty much over. I don't see Jeremiah Love. I don't see him carrying this team a long way. I just don't see it. Now, a lot of people that I've come across and have had discussions with leading up to this weekend have said, hey, Notre Dame's going to do their job. Pitt's going to do their job. The coaching is going to be the reason why they lose, or Notre Dame is going to be the reason why they lose. I don't think that is the purpose. Once again, having said that, it's the reliability that's going to balance out a deeper roster. So I broke it down. I said, let's be reliable, let's be balanced, and let's have a deeper roster if you're Notre Dame. So it's the reliability that's going to balance out a deeper roster. For Pitt, they must play over their heads defensively. Stop being so contingent and learn how to step outside the box. If you learn how to step outside the box and force turnovers like you guys don't know how to do anymore, then everything will be just fine. I believe that Notre Dame is going to lean on their run game heavily. We know Jeremiah Love is a Heisman candidate, one of the best running backs in college football. We understand that. They cannot throw the football against this Pitt team if they start to run the ball a lot because they're going to adjust. But Pitt is not known to adjust unless they're playing West Virginia. We all know that. If you know anything about that rivalry, West Virginia and Pitt, then you know it gets sloppy and it gets messy. I don't think this game is going to get anywhere near messy. It may get messy for Pitt. But if they can somehow pull off the upset and stop Jeremiah Love, contain CJ Carr in the pocket, and make him scramble, make him get outside the pocket, they will have a good chance of winning this game. This is a classic matchup. This is what I call a classic matchup. If Pitt can force turnovers, this leans into their favor. But if they cannot force turnovers, this is going to lean in Notre Dame's favor all day long. 100%. 100%. I don't see a world where Pitt blows out Notre Dame. You cannot get me to say that. But if it happens, it happens. This is college football, the most unpredictable sport alive. The third game that I'm going into, NC State and Miami. Carson Beck, we have to have a conversation, a huge conversation, right? I don't think anywhere in the scouting report it says let Carson Beck throw for 250 yards. It doesn't say that anywhere. I don't believe that Carson Beck has the ability to go for over 250 against an NC State team. Not after NC State beat Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech is the best team in the ACC, and they put up 40 plus on them. I don't believe that. Miami just lost to SMU 2 weeks ago. I don't. This is going to be a massive ACC swing game. A massive ACC swing game. The definition of it is two juggernauts or two teams that are good enough or have the record in that respective conference, this being the ACC, who can have a chance to swing their conference in their favor. Miami nor NC State are the favorites right now. Yes, Miami's probably the favorites because they face nothing before the teams and they have such a weak schedule and they get W's. They get W's. But when they go up against real teams like SMU, they got exposed. So I'm only scared to see what they're going to do against Georgia Tech because they never beat Georgia Tech. They always either lose on a last-minute catastrophic play, whether it was the fumble by Cam Ward, which we all remember, or the last-second throw by Haynes King with 1 second left. That left 1 second left on the clock. I don't see this happening. Miami, I have them winning this game. I do. But if they don't win the game, that's where we're going to have this conversation. And I don't think they should be considered for the college football playoffs. If they lose to NC State today, you can't get me to say it. You can't get me to protest it. You can't get me to even oblige against the fact that Carson Beck needs this game. He needs any conference game. I mean, he needs any game, but the conference games count. We know that the conference games, it's like division games in the NFL. You must win those in order to either be considered or have a playoff run, right? And to end that game off, NC State, they're so dominant in certain aspects of the game that we won't have to even worry about what they have to do. We won't even have to worry about their run game that much, but we know Miami's defense is that clutch. So Miami's going to come out on top unless they crumble again, like they almost did against Florida State, and they did against SMU. If they crumble, forget it. Just forget it. Forget it. Speaking of this next game, this is also an ACC matchup. We're going to talk about Georgia Tech and Boston College. Not going to spend too much time on this because we all know who's going to win this game. Georgia Tech's going to win by a country mile. Boston College hasn't been good since Tommy Castellanos transferred and Matt Ryan left for the NFL. To be completely honest, I don't think Boston College even puts up a remote 20 points on Georgia Tech today. And that's a bold statement. Georgia Tech is going to win by at least 10, 15, 20 points. I will be surprised if it's anything less than that because I'm expecting more from a Haynes King. I'm expecting more from their defense. If Haynes King wants to win the Heisman, this is what he has to do. Win these conference games against teams that are not good in your conference, like a Boston College, a lower tier ACC team. Upset watch? Not really. And I'm going to tell you why. Georgia Tech's offense is finding a groove after losing that game against NC State. They're going to get their groove back regardless. But Boston College needs the clock control. Even though they might get blown out, let's work on clock control. Now, in a scenario where I don't put this will ever happen, but if Georgia Tech somehow gets upset, this is going to be the reason why they get upset. Boston College clock control and clock management, their long drives, and home crowd energy. Home crowd energy always helps. We already know that. That's a default in college football. But whoever dictates the pace is going to win the game. And I feel like Georgia Tech is going to dictate the pace early, but don't let Boston College come back because some of these lower tier teams are known for coming back and salvaging the moment and going to winning games. And then you look back at the schedule when it's time for the playoff implications or it's time for the playoff selection. You say, man, I wish I wouldn't have lost that game because now that's going to count against your record. And then you're looking at a possible elimination. Florida's not going to make it. Obviously, we know that. UCF or USF, excuse me, they might make the college football playoffs. And they might be a top 12 college football playoff team. Now, don't get it twisted. If they come to play Georgia, they're not winning. Let's be honest. Especially they have to come play us between the hedges. They're not winning. I don't see any team beating us at home. The only team that has beat us at home is Alabama. Alabama. You can't get me to say that Georgia Tech is a better team than Georgia right now. Record shows, but plays matter. Record shows, but plays matter. Georgia Tech always comes up short against us, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. So I hope they're prepared because we're going to be prepared for them. We're going to be prepared for them. Virginia and Duke, let's be honest, I don't think anybody's going to watch that game. I'm sorry. But having a closer game than expected is definitely proven to me that Duke has the perimeter athletes and the elite athletes to take control of this game. Virginia has to eliminate turnovers. Yes, you're going into a different environment, but they don't have Riley Leonard anymore. They don't have Daniel Jones, who's actually good in college and good right now. They don't have an elite quarterback. They don't have an elite running back. They tend to struggle at home anyway. Duke does, but when they actually decide to play ball, they can beat a lot of good teams. I know we remember when Clemson went there and they beat them when Riley Leonard had that big run. I know we remember that. But Virginia has to eliminate turnovers and they must not have firepower in order to chase because they don't have the firepower to chase. So don't even try it. That's why I say must not have it. Don't try to do too much if you're Virginia. Just play your game and you will probably win this game because we all know Duke is a basketball school. I don't see them going to the ACC championship game. I don't see them winning this game. And if they do win this game, it will be by sheer luck because Virginia, to me, is more so ready for the big moment than a Duke. You put Virginia up against a Georgia Tech or a Miami right now, they will make it a closer game than Duke will. Let's be completely transparent. Let's be completely transparent with that. I don't believe that a low-scoring football game is worthy of this insanity. It's worthy of this continuity. It's worthy of having this big of a magnitude. So expect tough, low-scoring football, but it's going to be hard-nosed football all around. We'll be right back. And when we get back, we're talking about don't be that team. This is a list here. The other games are stacked this weekend, but the don't be that team tier list is coming up right after this. Let's keep it rolling. All right, guys, welcome back to Tag Loud 205 on Millions. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, liking, commenting, following, sharing. I always want to give you guys gratitude because without this fan base that I have that is continuing to grow each day, it is not possible. So thank you guys so much for your support once again. Also, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube, my Instagram, and follow me on Twitter as well, TikTok, and Snapchat. Florida, Ole Miss. It's in their name. Florida, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to miss today when they lose to Florida in an upset win. I have heard backlash about this since Thursday. The style clash, the tempo versus control game is this game. I don't see Ole Miss losing. I see Florida winning. So I'm gonna repeat that. I don't see Ole Miss losing. I see Florida winning. And what I mean by that is Ole Miss is gonna get too caught up in themselves. They're just coming off a big win, a huge win, a blowout win. So they're feeling really confident. But Florida just fired their head coach not too long ago. And as a testament to it, Georgia had to go up against that team with the interim head coach. We all know this in football. If you are a football fan, college football or National Football League fan, it does not matter. We know that whenever a coach gets fired mid-season, and there's been a historic amount of firings this season. James Franklin, the most notable. But when we are talking about head coaches being fired in the middle of the season, buyouts, etc., you have a team that is ready to play for that coach because they want him to stay. And it's a testament to show, was the head coach actually the right man for the job? Or are they just playing because they understand that the season is over with and they just want to try to get any win that they can? There's a lot of scenarios and questions that we can make up about this. But Florida's team, to me, what they showed against my team in Georgia, they can beat Ole Miss. If they almost beat us, what makes you think they can't beat Ole Miss? Let's be completely honest. I understand Lagway got benched. I understand he's been struggling this year. It was expected for him to struggle because of all the hype that he had coming into the season. He didn't have the proper team around him. I knew he was going to struggle. In that LSU game, I knew the season was over with because he threw 2 interceptions, 2 crucial ones out of the 3 or 4 that he did. He wasn't focused. He wasn't ready. Momentum is going to dictate the entire game for both sides of the football. If Ole Miss is explosive through the air and they can get quick scores and early and often, Florida's in trouble. But if Florida can run the football and play the long game, not passing the football, let's do the other part. Let's run the football and play the long game and make it short. Let's shorten this game and match Ole Miss's pace, which I don't think they're going to do. But if they can sustain their own pace and make Ole Miss's defense match their pace, this is an upset. By a country mile, this is an upset. And I'm not talking about a blowout, but it's going to be a close game upset. Now, to get to my favorite team, this is going to be a minute. If we don't win this game, Gunnar Stockton, Kirby Smart, Zachariah Branch, Nate Frazier, Noah Thomas, I'm talking to Dawson Lucky, Oscar Delp, I'm talking to you guys right now. We have to beat Texas. We can't just lose to them. We have to beat them. The committee already doesn't like the Georgia Bulldogs as it is. College football fans know that. We already have 1 loss. Alabama has 1 loss. They're going to give the edge to Alabama because not only of the sustainability that they have sustained, but because Alabama is back. In some sense, they are. It took them probably one season or two to get back, but they're here. They're back. Don't let Texas fool you. I don't think that Bobo's game plan is gonna be an issue. What I do have an issue with is our defense. If the defense of Georgia cannot sustain Texas's offense and Arch Manning, we are going to have an issue beyond measures. You have to win. If you don't win this game at home, you're more than likely looking at a slide in the college football rankings, and the college football playoff implications are going to be even higher now for Georgia to win out the rest of their games. We should be trying to win out the rest of our games right now, considering that we lost to Alabama. Georgia's defense is not elite like in past years. We have the youngest team in the SEC, but still the best Texas will see outside of Alabama. If Texas goes against Alabama in an SEC championship game, I don't think that's the best version of Texas that we're going to see. The best version of the Texas Longhorns that we're going to see is tonight. Steve Sarkisian does not like losing to Kirby Smart. He doesn't like it. He's going to try everything in his path to hit explosive plays early, to not get stuck behind the 8 ball, and they're going to try to get out in front early. Georgia's wins this season have all come from behind wins. I don't know why we want to be such a comeback needy team, and we can't just sustain the energy from the get-go. We are a second half team this year, not a first half team. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. But pounding the rock, controlling the tempo, and keeping Arch Manning uncomfortable is the key and the path for Georgia to win this game. If Texas wants to win this game, I just said it. Let me harp on it again. They have to hit the explosive plays early. They can't get stuck behind the 8 ball, and they must generate chaos defensively. If they can't do those, I don't know what to tell you. This is the biggest SEC game of the year, not of the week, of the year. Alabama fans and Auburn fans might take offense to that. Florida fans too, but let's be completely honest. The implications of this game, just because it's Georgia, just because it's Arch Manning, just because of who's playing in the game, is the biggest reason why this game is going to be most talked about today. And of course, I have the Bulldogs winning this game. I can't give you a prediction score-wise, but I can tell you somehow, some way, they are going to find a way to win this game the same way they did against Florida, the same way they did against Mississippi State early when they got behind 7-0 and say, you know what, this is Mississippi State. What are we doing losing to them? The same way that we have beaten every team this year, the same way we're going to do it. Dominate. And some quick hitters here before we close out. I have USC, Oregon. That's going to be a great game. The Ducks, if they don't control this tempo, then USC doesn't solve their issues. Let me reiterate that. If the Ducks don't take control of this game, USC doesn't solve their issues. Having said that, Oregon, don't lose to USC. You talk about national championship. You talk about different uniform combinations. You talk about getting into the college football playoffs, which you're going to make it, but just don't lose to USC, because then that's going to make every other team that you're coming up against, they're going to make you look vulnerable, right? Texas A&M, Marcel Reed watch continues. He's a dominant playmaker that somebody's going to have a chance to draft eventually, and he's going to be the face of somebody's franchise for sure. Domination is in Texas A&M's name this year. They're not beating us, but we're going to let them ride high until they face us. The ACC chaos is going to be great. If Georgia Tech loses, if Miami loses, if NC State somehow beats Miami, that's going to be a big shocker to me. But to close this out, I am 2-0 already in college football predictions. Louisville lost to Clemson, last night. And then we all understand that when you're talking about Oregon, what they did against Minnesota last night, that's the reason why I say don't lose to SC. You dominated Minnesota, but this is not Minnesota. This is not the Golden Gophers. This is the USC Trojans. They will bring the fight, but I believe you're going to blow them out. Dante Moore, don't you do it. Don't throw 2 interceptions. Don't throw 3. Run the football if you have to. Texas A&M, already hit on them. ACC, we already hit on them. But being a college football fan is one of the biggest accomplishments a sports fan can have. It's way better than the NFL at times. The chaos is going to get intense. The games are going to be long. Not baseball long, but they're going to be long. I expect at least one overtime game tonight, at least one. So, with that being said, I want you guys to leave your comments down below. Tell me, who do you have winning? Who is your favorite teams from this list? And like I always say, don't underestimate or overestimate the competition. Because when you do that, you tend to lose. And then you look back at yourself and say, why did I do that? So stay tuned for the next episode. I am your host, Tyler A. Gates. If you have not already, subscribe to my Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, which I just restocked actually. So go ahead, TikTok, that should be available down there in the comment section as well, and in my Instagram bio. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.